At my sister's wedding, crystal chandeliers glimmered overhead, and a string quartet played melodies too delicate for the crowd swaying beneath them. My 8-year-old daughter Emma tugged at my sleeve, her voice a faint murmur. "Mom, we need to leave. Now." I knelt down, assuming the opulent venue, the music, or the sidelong glances from relatives had unsettled her. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. She didn't reply. Instead, she pulled out my old, cracked phone, handed down to her, and opened a video. "Watch this," she said. I froze. The screen flickered, the footage blurry but unmistakable. "My name is Sarah," I heard my own voice say in my mind, as if narrating my shock. "And if you're seeing this, stay with me. Have you ever stood in a room full of people celebrating a lie, knowing you alone held the truth?" The video showed my husband, James, with my sister, Claire, in a private room. His hands rested on her hips, her laughter soft as she whispered, "We should have told her months ago." The timestamp. 10 days ago. Days before I helped Claire choose her bouquet, before I sat beside her at the final dress fitting, swallowing my joy for her. Now, my daughter, barely 8, was the only one with the courage to show me. I looked at Emma. "Where did you get this?" Her lip trembled. "I saw them last week at our house. I didn't know what to do, so I waited. When Dad left his phone out, I sent the video to mine. I didn't want to hurt you unless I had to." Her hands shook, but mine didn't. Something fierce stirred inside me. Not anger, but clarity. I stood, smoothed my dress, and kissed her forehead. "You did well," I whispered. "Now we leave. Not to break, but to build." They thought this would shatter me. They forgot I raised a daughter to see everything. We walked out of the reception hall, Emma's small hand in mine, her pulse racing while mine stayed steady, icy, precise. The quartet played on. The guests raised their glasses. Claire stood at the altar, vowing eternity, and James sat in the front row, composed, applauding as if he hadn't already broken every promise he made to me. I didn't scream or collapse. This wasn't a moment for chaos. It was the opening note of a reckoning, and I would be its composer. In the car, I buckled Emma in, handed her earbuds, and said, "You were brave today. Let Mommy take it from here." That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed the video, pausing at every frame, extracting details, saving timestamps, gathering proof to turn their betrayal into rubble. By dawn, James sensed a change. He strolled into the kitchen, stretching, oblivious to the fact he'd already lost. "Morning," he said, pouring coffee. "How was the wedding?" I smiled. "You tell me. You were there." He frowned. "Everything okay?" I handed him a mug. "Perfect." He kissed my forehead, smug, believing my devotion blinded me. It hadn't. It made me silent, and that was far more dangerous. That afternoon, I called my attorney, filing papers discreetly. The house was in my name, the cars tied to my company, and a separate account I'd opened weeks ago, when that instinct women are taught to dismiss first whispered to me. Stood ready. Best of all, the prenup James insisted on. Void if infidelity was proven. And now, it was. Not just whispers, but evidence, recorded by an 8-year-old who saw her mother betrayed and said, "Not on my watch." I wasn't shattered. I was sharpening my blades. They didn't see it. James and Claire thought I'd crumble, but I was the one holding the fuse. James noticed the quiet first. No shouting, no tears, no accusations, just a stillness that should have unnerved him. But men like him expect ruin to come with hysterics, not precision. I'd already begun dismantling his world. That morning, I emailed a watermarked, time-stamped copy of the video to my lawyer. Subject: evidence. Proceed. His reply came in minutes. This is airtight. With the prenup's infidelity clause, we're in the driver's seat. Control, once his weapon against me, now fit me like a tailored suit. The next day, I set my traps. I canceled his access to the business credit card, froze our joint accounts, and transferred my company's digital assets to a new LLC, one James didn't know existed. He came home that evening, tie undone, breath tinged with bourbon, confidence still clinging to him like cologne. "You're quiet," he said, tossing his keys onto the counter. "Everything all right?" I smiled. "Couldn't be better." He nodded, smug, and wandered into the den. I followed, carrying 2 glasses of wine, my pulse steady, my resolve colder than the glass in my hand. We sat. He flicked on the TV. I picked up the remote and silenced it. He glanced over, brow raised. "What's up?" I unlocked my phone, tapped the screen, and hit play. There they were. James and Claire, a kiss, her laughter, her voice murmuring, "We should have told her months ago." His face drained of color, his breath caught. Where did you get this?" he stuttered. "From Emma," I said. "Our daughter. The one you forgot has eyes." His hands shook. "Sarah, wait. This isn't what you think." "No," I cut him off. "It's exactly what I think. That's your problem." He leaned forward, desperate. "It was a mistake." I laughed, sharp and low. "A mistake is missing a date night. You chose this. Now I choose." I stood, walked to the hall, and returned with a manila folder. I slid it across the coffee table. He opened it, hands unsteady, and found divorce papers, filed, stamped, unyielding, along with a document stripping him of power of attorney, business access, and shared assets. His eyes widened. "You planned this," he whispered. "No," I said. "I observed. While you played king in my life, I carved a path you'll never find." I turned and walked away. He didn't deserve my tears. He deserved to be erased. By morning, my phone lit up, not with remorse, but with his frantic attempts at control. Texts flooded in. "Can we talk? It was a mistake. You're overreacting." Then, the one that made me laugh aloud, "Let's be adults." Adults? Like the kind who sneak around with their wife's sister while their daughter watches from the shadows. Like the kind who wear tailored suits to a wedding built on deceit. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to my lawyer's office and signed the final asset transfers. By midday, James was locked out. Emails, accounts, even the office where we once ran our shared company. 2 hours later, he showed up, pounding on the glass door of my office, like a man realizing the empire he thought he ruled was mine all along. "Sarah, come on, let me explain," he shouted. My assistant glanced at him, unimpressed, as if he were a busker in a cheap suit. I walked to the door, calm, shoulders squared, and opened it just enough to meet his eyes. "You had a wife," I said, my voice steady. "You chose to lose her." "You had a wife," I said, my voice like steel. "And a daughter. You had a life most people dream of, and you threw it away. For what? A cheap thrill? My sister's approval? Some sad little secret you thought you could keep?" James's mouth opened, closed, opened again, but no words came. I pressed on. "You betrayed a woman who built your world while you played games with my own blood." His voice cracked, barely audible. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I leaned closer, delivering the blow I knew would linger. "No, you didn't think I'd matter enough to hurt?" I shut the door, locked it, and turned to my team. "Let's get to work." While James unraveled, I was rising. That night, I found Emma on the couch, her sketchbook open, pencil moving in quick, determined strokes. "What's this?" I asked, sitting beside her. She grinned. "An invention. It fixes things people break." My chest ached, a mix of pain and pride. I pulled her close, whispering, "You already fixed the most important thing. Me." While I'd been doubting myself, shrinking under the weight of betrayal, Emma had pulled me free, not with anger, but with truth. I wasn't going back. Revenge wasn't the endgame anymore. Rebuilding was, and I was just beginning. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived, hand-delivered, cream paper with gold embossing, a brunch invitation for the newlyweds, Claire's name in elegant script, James's beside it, as if they'd always been a pair, as if I'd been the error they'd erased. I held the invitation, its weight heavy with their audacity. "Are they for real?" my assistant Rachel asked, peering over my shoulder. "Not real," I said. Desperate. This wasn't a party. It was a performance. They weren't just parading their affair. They were rewriting the story, casting themselves as star-crossed lovers, daring the world to applaud. But I knew what they craved. My silence, my retreat, my erasure. I set the envelope down. "I'm going," I said. Rachel's eyes widened. "You're what?" I smiled. "And I'm bringing a gift." Over the next few days, I moved in shadows. I called a contact at the local paper, a journalist with a knack for exposing truths. I reached out to a woman who'd once worked with Claire, someone who'd seen her play fast and loose with loyalties before. I didn't need to beg or bribe if people were eager to talk when they smelled a lie unraveling. I gathered their stories, cross-checked details, and built a dossier, not for revenge, but for clarity. This wasn't about destroying them. It was about showing the world who they were. I reached out to a former colleague, now a sharp investigative journalist named Hannah, and sent her everything. The video, the timeline, and financial records showing transfers between James's and Claire's accounts, months before their betrayal surfaced. The evidence was ironclad, but I held off on releasing it until after the brunch. Timing, after all, is everything. That Sunday, I walked into the venue like I was forged from steel, polished, unyielding, radiant. James froze, his glass halfway to his lips. Claire's fork clattered against her plate. I wore ivory, not to reclaim innocence, but to show them I'd emerged from their wreckage, and still shone. "Sarah," Claire stammered, standing. "You came." I slid into the seat across from them. "I've already forgiven myself for trusting people who didn't deserve it," I said. James leaned forward, voice low. "Can we keep this civil?" I tilted my head. "You planned a marriage behind my divorce. You sent Emma an invitation, as if she'd forget what you did. And now you want civility." He fell silent. I reached into my purse and placed 2 folders on the table. "This is civility," I said. "A cease and desist order, barring you from using Emma's name or image in your so-called family moments, and a formal revocation of your access to the business you never helped build." Claire's jaw dropped. "You can't do this." "I already have." I stood, smiled, and leaned in close. "Check the news in an hour." While they toasted their lies, I was raising a glass to their exposure. By the time they cut their celebratory cake, the story broke. A front-page feature in the local paper's weekend edition. Deceptions and vows. The affair behind the celebration. The article was merciless. Screenshots of the video. Transaction records from James to Claire's account. Claire's glowing engagement photos side by side with time-stamped footage of their betrayal, all anchored by Emma's video evidence. It didn't just reveal them, it dismantled them. By the time I reached my driveway, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages from friends, neighbors, Claire's charity sponsors, James's startup investors. The tone was the same. We had no idea. We're sorry. We're done with them. They thought they were untouchable. Now they were toxic. By evening, their names trended online. Hast sister betrayal, Juju broken vows, Sarah deserves better. I didn't post a single word. My silence was their verdict. At bedtime, Emma curled into my arms. "Is it over now?" she asked. I kissed her forehead. "It's just starting, sweetheart." This wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about redirection. The next week, I channeled the spotlight into action. I launched a mentorship program for single mothers rebuilding after betrayal, called Project Resilience. Because we are the backbone of every shattered world, the ones who don't collapse, but carry on. 2 days later, a publisher called, wanting my story, not as whispers or courtroom arguments, but in my own words, on my terms, in print. Meanwhile, Claire's charity lost most of its donors, and James's startup was abandoned by its primary investor. The best part? I never raised my voice, never caused a scene, just built my own platform. They tried to claw back, of course. Claire posted a tearful Instagram video, voice trembling under perfect lighting. "I never meant to hurt anyone. Love is complicated. Please be kind." I didn't watch it twice. It was a performance, not remorse. The online backlash was relentless. Claire's comment section tore into her, and by late afternoon, her nonprofit's board issued a statement. Claire will step down effective immediately. James, predictably, went quiet. His company scrubbed his name. His LinkedIn profile disappeared, and even his gym erased his member spotlight bio. He called twice that week, leaving voicemails that rang empty. "You got what you wanted, Sarah. Can we stop now? You're bigger than this." I didn't call back. I wasn't need to be bigger for people who wanted me small. Instead, I poured my energy into drafting the first chapter of my book, tentatively titled Quiet Blaze: How I Dismantled Their Deceit Without a Shouting. It felt true. I didn't yell. I revealed. I reclaimed. I walked away with everything they thought they'd taken away. That Friday, a knock came at my door. It was Claire. No makeup, no bravado, just a weary shadow of herself. She held out a small velvet box. "This was Mom's," she said. "You should have it." I opened it carefully. Inside was a delicate silver necklace, one I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. Our mother's favorite. Promised to me, then given away without a word. I met Claire's eyes. Tears shimmered in hers. "I don't expect forgiveness," she whispered. "I just needed to say sorry. A real sorry. For everything." I nodded. "You broke something irreparable." She swallowed. "I know. But I rebuilt without you," I said. She looked down. "I see that." She turned and walked away. No glance back. For the first time, it felt final. Emma peeked from the hallway. "Was that Aunt Claire?" I nodded. "Did she apologize?" "She did." Emma tilted her head. "Will you forgive her?" I paused, then said, "I already have. But forgiveness doesn't mean letting her back in." I wasn't bitter. I was stronger. My peace was the weapon they never saw coming. My book, Quiet Blaze, hit shelves on a Tuesday. By Thursday it was sold out. By Friday, headlines called me the woman who rebuilt herself without tearing the world apart, just pulling out its weak foundations. But the truth? I did burn it down. Every false vow, every hidden betrayal, every hollow toast raised over their lies. From the ashes, I built a sanctuary for Emma and me. Sturdy, warm, untouchable. At the first Project Resilience event, I stood before 300 women, some clutching divorce decrees, others holding children, all bearing scars. I shared the story, start to finish. How Emma, at just 8, became the mirror no one could deceive. How silence isn't surrender, but power held tight. How betrayal by those closest to you doesn't break you. It makes you fierce, because you stop begging for room and start claiming it. After the event, Emma found me backstage, flipping through the program. "You were so steady," she said. I smiled. "Not steady. Clear." She looked up. "Is it really over now?" I knelt, cupping her face. "It's not just over," I said. "It's whole." That night, walking home under the glow of city lights, Emma's hand in mine, I realized something. They thought their betrayal would ruin me, but it only forced me to face the woman I'd been sidestepping. The one who doesn't flinch, doesn't compromise, doesn't apologize for outgrowing the chains they tried to bind her with. I didn't win by wounding them. I won by choosing myself. And that's a story you don't just endure. You write it, seal it, and close it with a single, unshakable truth.